Hello, everybody. Welcome to T.O.'s Roadhouse. So good to have you with us. I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time. Me and this man go way back over 30 years. When I got shot back in the early 90s, when I woke up in the hospital, he was one of the first people that I saw in my hospital room. Y'all put your hands together for Tim McGraw. We go way back, bro.
Way back,
Way back. All the way.
I remember the old Toyota.
Do you? And I've told you this before. The first time I ever rode on a tour bus was with you, and
Louisiana.
We'd gone back to Shreveport to a big club. It wasn't a honky tonk. It was like a disco called Cowboys.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, when I was going to SAU, we would go to Shreveport on the weekends and go to Stars at the Labossiere and go to Cowboys and hang out. So that was the first time. And I remember it was so cool getting on a tour bus for the first time, man. That was my first experience riding on a bus, man.
Imagine I was on a tour bus before you.
Yeah, I know. Well, you had songs on the radio before me.
I did, but not hits. You had hits first.
Now, what was that? Were you on the same label? Weren't you on Curb?
Curb, yeah.
So
Curb,
that's where you started.
Like my first single was "What Room Was the Holiday In?"
I remember that.
Yeah. And that went wood. And then the second single was "Welcome to the Club," which was my first top 40. Yeah.
You know, the vibe in town was so cool back then. I remember running around, man. We had a great time. We became friends early on, and Kenny was there in the mix with all of us, running around to Judy's Jams, getting on stage, any place anybody let us sing.
Eating at Arnold's.
Oh my God, I loved Arnold's. You know, one of the things that I appreciated so much back then, and we've lost that. You know, downtown on Lower Broad and Printers Alley, it's so commercialized now. Back then, man, we could go to Gabe's or the Broken Spoke or the Rose Room. There were places that we could go that were really, for all intent and purposes, they were where the road musicians and the songwriters hung out.
Yeah.
And nowadays, you can't have anything that's kind of exclusive like that because they'll tweet it out to somebody, and then the next thing you know, you'll have 100 fans.
You'll have 100 fans, and everybody hear the songs. But that's where we used to hear songs too.
Oh yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier. You could win money.
I lived off that.
You
money.
lived off because you won all the time.
Well, I can only win each place every 6 weeks.
Every place you would go to, you would get an audience participation thing, and everybody would sing, and then the applause would determine who won the $50 for the night. And that sucker won every damn night.
Well, it was all song selection.
No, it wasn't. It was your singing. It wasn't song selection.
I've got friends in low places. We did a lot of Garth Brooks.
A lot of Garth
Brooks, a lot of Keith Whitley.
A lot of Keith Whitley.
And you remember Gabe's? It was that little cinder block bar that was behind the Broken Spoke there off Trinity Lane.
Yes.
There was a bass player there by the name of Ron Sweet, and Ron played 6 nights a week, and he would stand up there and sing all that old Ray Price stuff and walk that freaking bass guitar. And I remember seeing all the road musicians that would come in from the different tours and just get to hang out with those guys. That was my favorite place. Ron sang so good, man.
So good. There were so many good artists back then, and in the whole Printers Alley scene. You know, I played Skull's Rainbow Room. That was my house gig. Was Skull's Rainbow Room every night, and we were lucky because you were there, and the tour buses would come in. Yeah. So you always had a packed house every night. You know, and we hung out there so much. I mean, it was just magical. It was like what you would imagine like the 60s and 70s being when country artists would come to town. And that's what it was like for us back then.
I felt a lot of camaraderie back then. Yeah. And I felt
now it's competition.
And I didn't feel like, and I guess there was some of it to a degree.
Well,
but I always felt like
competition.
We were all very cocky.
Yeah.
And we loved to compete against each other, but I think we were all genuinely proud of each other's success. I don't think there was any jealousy like that. But if we were fighting for a number one, you bet your ass I wanted to win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's part of the fun of it.
It's not about being base or anything like that, about like wanting somebody to not win. It's like you just want to win. It's just like if we were playing football in high school, it was like, you know, we're best friends, but when the game came, I'm going to kick your ass.
That's what it's all about, man. It's like knuckle down, take care of business, man.
But you're also proud of your buds when they succeed.
How much has your life changed since then?
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Not just financial and all the things, but I mean, you're a husband. You got 3 beautiful daughters.
I know.
I mean, there's so much to be proud of. The body of work that you've left, the movie catalog. I mean, you've done so much in your career that just
I've been
really
lucky.
To be proud of.
I've been very fortunate. You know, I first off, meeting my wife saved my life. I mean, I was a wild man.
No.
You know that. I mean, I was a wild man. I was having fun.
I tell everybody all the time, Faith really didn't let me come around after y'all got together. And I tell everybody, you blamed all that shit on me.
Of course I did.
Every bit of it got blamed on me.
Anything that went wrong, that's Tracy's fault.
Tracy Lawrence made me do that.
Tracy's fault. Yes, absolutely. But no, she turned my life around, and I couldn't have found a better woman. And not only beautiful and talented, but just a good person.
Yeah.
And then having our daughters. I mean, you have girls.
Oh yeah, it's life changing.
It's life changing, and they make you a better person, and they certainly calm the demons in you.
Well, for me, man, it took away a lot of the selfishness. I mean, you still have to maintain some of that with all the things that we do, but I started thinking about other people besides myself, and that was a big change for me because I was always very self-absorbed. It was all me. Family changed all that. What's the dynamic in your home like, man? Are you a breakfast cooker? Do you get up? Do you cook for the kids? I mean, what's your home life dynamic?
Yes, I mean, look, when the kids were growing up and they were going to school, I mean, I coached softball, I coached basketball, I actually coached football. I was involved in everything that you can be involved in school. We were up every morning taking the kids to school. We were making breakfast every morning. Yeah. But as soon as they left the house, we went back to our old musician days of getting up later. But no, it changed everything about my life. It changed my perspective. It changed the way I thought about what my future would be. It certainly took me out of myself.
Yeah.
However, as you know, in this business, there has to be a bit of narcissism in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And you have to fight that. You have to fight that constantly. But you don't want to get rid of it because that's sort of the gas that drives you in order to because it's a narcissistic sort of job.
Well, we are praising idolatry, which goes against a lot of the religious principles that I was raised on. But there's a time and place for all of it. I mean, you have to, and I think as you get older, I think a lot of it overlapped into my everyday life when I was young. But as I've gotten older and learned to compartmentalize things, there's a switch that comes on when I walk on that stage. There's a dynamic that changes, and there's a time and place for it. And I try to not bring that home anymore.
Absolutely, it's like I always say, it's like putting a cowboy hat on. It's like putting Superman's cape on.
Absolutely,
yeah. Changes your character.
It changes the way I walk. I mean, it changes everything.
And it's hard to say this because you don't want people to think that it's an act, but it is.
Well, it's another part of your persona.
It's another part of your persona. It's like when I equate to acting. It's like you're not acting. What you're doing is finding that part of that character in yourself, and you're putting a magnifying glass on it. And it's the same thing to what we do when we go on stage.
Yeah.
That's part of us. And all you do is you put a magnifying glass on it for that hour and a half, 2 hours that you're on stage.
Yeah. How, you've done a really great job over the years of picking some amazing, iconic songs. What's your song process when you're preparing for a record?
Well, I write. I mean, as you know, that's how I started early on as a writer. I wrote all the time. And I still write for every record, and I have these ideas of the types of songs that I want to write. Luckily, every now and then one of mine makes it, and it does well. But what happens is I have these sounds and these ideas of the songs that I want to do and the things that I want to say, and I start writing these songs, and I get 6 or 7 songs, and I think, okay, these are really good. I mean, I think these will work. And then all of a sudden, Tom Douglas sends me a song that has the same theme. Lori McKenna sends me a song that has the same thing. The Warren Brothers send me a song that has the same theme. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So my songs move further and further down the line. But to me, look, everybody can sing in this town. There's great singers in this town. And what it really boils down to is the song.
You have done really well with. I haven't done a lot of story songs. Mine are more life interest things. You've done really well with story songs that have a message and a point with some kind of moral grounding thing to it. Was that intentional? I mean,
I think
you
so.
Just kind of stumble on it because it kind of gave you your own thing.
I think so. I think.
It's kind of a Kenny Rogers thing. Kenny did great with those top songs too, but that's not the norm overall with a lot of people. I mean, not like Vince Gill. Vince Gill don't do a lot of those things.
And look, I try to do fun songs every now and then. It's harder the older you get to find a fun song.
Yeah.
And feel
because they feel like ditties.
And feel comfortable with it. Yeah. You feel like, you don't want to feel like you don't want to sing about tailgates and bikinis, when you're 58 years old. Occasionally you do if the song's right. But for me, it's like, what song's going to teach me a lesson? What song's going to make me learn something about myself? And what song can I sing that I interpret that's believable? And that's the hardest thing, because look, I've experimented with stuff. I've tried different things. I listen to all kinds of stuff, and I take things in that I like, stuff that are new sounds, and I try to put my spin on it. And I've done stuff like Looking for That Girl and things like that are a little different and weird, and I'm always trying to experiment. But I think I have a bass sound, a sort of a bass attitude about the kind of songs that I want to do. I'll throw a fun ditty song in every now and then. I'll throw a fun love song in every now and then. I'll throw a fun cheating song in every now and then. But I'm always looking for a life affirmation song.
Too, we were talking before we started taping this show about your nephew that you produce some sides on. There's a different process, and I want to hear from your perspective about how you approach this. There's a different level of song that you record for an entrance album on an artist when they're young. There's the party atmosphere. There's things that you would cut on a new artist that you wouldn't do on yourself at this stage of life, and certain older themes that you probably would want to stay away from, as far as, because you want to find stuff that's going to break through the radio muck, but it's also got to be something that younger person can relate to, that's attached to that. How do you think about that philosophically?
I do.
Go into it?
I do. And with Timothy, my nephew Timothy Wayne, is my sister's son, who I produced with Byron. Great singer, great kid. And a lot of the songs were songs that were pitched to me, and were songs that I thought maybe were too young for me, skewed too young for me, but still had a lot to say.
Yeah.
So for him, and he's a very old soul, and he's a very traditional singer. I mean, he loves Waylon and Merle and Meryl Street and all those guys. That's the guys he likes. So what I tried to find with songs with him were songs that had that youthfulness to it. And he writes a lot too. So he writes a lot of the youthful stuff. But I also wanted to there's a song called Dog in a Truck Bed that's on his album that has a combination of both of those. So I wanted him to have some depth in the music that he does at an early age, also have the fun, but also set him up to be a serious artist.
As you have, and I wanted to talk about Byron too. I've always wanted to work with Byron. And
you should, because
I know that he was at the foundation early on in your career, and y'all had such a great working relationship, and you got some amazing tracks. But as far as going in with a new act, and this is another philosophical thing that I ponder on, because I really want to start getting into producing some more younger acts and stuff.
I love it. That's my favorite thing.
I think there were times that I didn't agree with some of the production techniques early on with me, because I felt like they were overproduced in some ways. Because as a young artist, if you can't afford to go out with a 7 or 8 piece band, you're going out with a 5-piece band. I always felt like it was dishonest to not be able to recreate what the record was, and in a lot of ways not make it better. And I felt like that you should be conscious of that as a producer when you cut a baby act that's starting out, about not making it so difficult to reproduce that
where
sound,
you can't match it,
where you can't match it, and hopefully make it better. That's the goal that all of us want to do, is add some dynamics and add some gang licks and different things in as you go through that process. So do you and Byron discuss that at all as you go through this process?
Yeah, I mean, certainly with Timothy we do, because he's a baby act, and he's, he can only have like 4 guys out with him.
Yep.
And so you can't get everything that you get on a record, all the stacks and the layers and everything that you do on a record. But you hope you get the essence of it, and you steer him to try to get the right musicians and guys who can play.
Yeah.
But look, we've all done it. We've all made records, and you play half of what you have on the record when you play it live. Nowadays you can add tracks, and you can do all that kind of stuff and fill everything up. And I have a 9-piece band now, so you can afford those sort of things. But for Timothy, I wanted to. First off, you want to make great records. You want to make the records that sound great. Deal with the other stuff later. But first off, make great.
But
great songs.
It's giving them an opportunity to grow into their own skill. It's kind of like when you're 14 years old. If you go out and you kill a 22-point buck the first time you go out, it's a little deflated.
Everything's deflated.
Yeah.
And and I always think too is after you record a song and after it's mixed and everything, you sing it better. Because what happens is you go in and you sing the song, you do all your things, and then when you mix it and you add all the magic and all that kind of stuff, then your ear hears what's happened after the mix. So then you start singing to that sound, and then all of a sudden you sing better. And to me, that's the magic to me, and that's what I look forward to going out and playing live is after you've recorded the record, hear the mix, and then go back and sing along with the mix that you've recorded.
Yeah.
And then it changes the way you sing it.
Yeah.
Because then you have the little extra sparkle and stuff, and then you find that in your vocal, and then it makes you a better singer.
It's different now.
Which, for me, it's tough to make a better singer.
It's I remember, and you worked with James Stroud too. We both spent time with Stroud, and Stroud was like my musical father in this business. Fantastic producer. Stroud taught me so much about producing vocals, because he was really good at getting little nuances out of you, finding that little special character in your voice, bottom end, or whatever your thing that make you unique. I think we live in a digital age now where Pro Tools is so prominent that anybody can basically go in and do 3 or 4 passes and they say, we're good, we'll tune.
They don't put the emotion in it.
It makes... If you hard tune everything, for people that don't understand this, if you hard tune up to the grid, if you are a person that slides up on notes or slides off on notes,
you miss all that.
You're going to suck all that. Then you start sounding like everybody else on the radio, and I don't agree with that at all. I'm starting to feel some things with some of this younger talent that are reverting back to a little bit more natural and organic, where they're breathier and they're actually singing better.
And I like it better. Yeah. In fact, my youngest daughter Audrey just finished her first album. She wrote everything, and the dad and me and the producer and me, when she played the music back for me, I'm like, it isn't finished yet. You got to tune your vocal. You got to tune these guitars. You got to add a few more layers. She goes, Dad, that's not what I want to do. That's not what kids are wanting to hear these days.
That's why that Texas sound, that raw sound is becoming so prominent. You got a lot of these acts that have never, or very little radio airplay, but they're all very heavy on social media, and they're putting 7,000-8,000 people in arenas.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time.
Not only arenas, these guys are coming out of nowhere and filling up stadiums.
I know, it's crazy.
I know. It's people I've never heard of, and they're filling up stadiums.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of people
Which I'm happy about, because it's good for country music. It's good for music in general, but it's good for country music.
I think it is too. I think it's very healthy, and it's also taken a lot of the power away from the gatekeepers that we used to have to go through to maintain relevance. And and we're all getting to that place. I hadn't had anything current on the radio in a long time. I mean, you're still blessed enough to be in that game.
Lucky enough.
You're still, and there's very few of us left. I mean, I think you and Kenny are about it. Straight's out, Clint Black's out, Ronnie Dunn's out. I mean, who's really from our era that's still
not many.
It's basically just a couple of them.
and the clock is ticking.
Yeah, and I understand from a commercial standpoint. I mean, you got all this young talent coming in, and just like when we were talking before about the way that we were perceived in the 90s when the young country movement happened, when we were just exploding, and the Whalens and the Merles and guys were kind of upset, but they'd been on the radio for 40 years, and all of a sudden they weren't getting played anymore, and some of them were kind of hostile toward us.
Absolutely.
I was blessed enough. I got to go up George Jones early on, and George embraced it. He took a lot of us young acts out, but I felt some hostility from other places.
Absolutely. And I don't want to be that guy.
I don't want to be that guy either.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. It's tough sometimes, but I don't want to be that guy. I mean, I just, like I said before, it is such a difficult business. And you can be the best looking guy. You can have the best songs. You can have the best records. You can have the best team behind you. You can have everything that's absolutely perfect.
Shadur Sanders.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah. And then you follow the fifth
and
round.
It doesn't work. And you can be uglier than a man's ass. You can have a bad song. You can have a bad record, but there's something magic to it.
Yeah.
And like we always say, sometimes God just walks through the room.
I wonder if Kenny Beard would have
Kenny.
In this day and age. I always thought Kenny was such a great singer.
Yeah.
And I see guys like Jelly Roll that have deals now. I wonder if Kenny could have been relevant in today's climate.
I think he could.
I think he could have, too.
I think he could have, because he was such a great songwriter, and he had such a presence about it.
He did. And such an amazing voice, too.
Such an amazing voice and such a good guy.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was instrumental, certainly in your career. But, But I knew Kenny, I mean, knew him very well.
Yeah, we all spent a lot of time together back then.
Too much time.
Yeah, I'm really having to refrain from a lot of our stories.
There's so many stories we can't tell.
The fountain at Demumbrian and
my God,
all the things. Yeah.
The fountain at Demumbrian, the hound dogs, hot dogs.
Yep. Yeah, y'all. I'd say I think I just had. Was it after Sticks and Stones were #1? I think it was my first. Was it me and you and Tammy Rose? Maybe.
Well, we were me, you, and Garth were bridesmaids at Tammy Rose's wedding.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
We were bridesmaids, and her husband had women as his groomsmen. Yes.
We figured that out pretty early.
And you can understand what the dynamic of that marriage turned out to be.
But I remember Garth was blowing up huge at that time. And it was very nice of him to show up.
Yes.
Because Tammy was good to all of us back then. It was very nice of him to show up, and we were all three bridesmaids, and I remember telling Garth,
wore suits, by the way,
we
not
wore
dresses.
Suits, not dresses.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm not above wearing a dress. Face had me in high heels every now and then.
Tell me more.
Nope, as far as I'll go. But those things are sharp. But I remember talking to Garth at that time, because he had just exploded, and I'm like, Garth, that's like, we all look up to you. You've kicked down a lot of doors for us, because he did. He kicked down a lot of doors that allowed us to do the type of music and the type of shows that we always grew up wanting to do, because we grew up being fans of Journey and Metallica, Eagles,
Van Halen,
all. So that was in our DNA as well, how to do a live show. And Garth came along and done it. And, Garth said the coolest thing. He said, you know what? He said, we all had the same idea. I just got here first.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool of him to say that.
Garth, with his marketing background, he had leverage and the knowledge enough to really take it to another level. I mean, so he was kind of a unique anomaly there in that time and place. He did stuff that nobody had ever done before.
Nobody ever done, and unique songs.
Very much so.
Unique songs, yeah.
But I think we've all done that to a large degree.
Of course, we did. But I mean, it was a time of change in country music.
And to me, the 90s were really the greatest era. And not just because we were there, but I think people are starting to look back on that era.
A lot of it because we were there.
I think people look back on that era like we look back on classic rock and roll. That's my go-to music when I go by. I still love listening to AC/DC and Journey and all those things. Me too.
And now you hear people talk about 90s country all the time. That's all
what
they
go back to.
That's what they want to listen to. And when you listen to the radio now, they're playing more and more and more of it.
Yeah.
And it's being played downtown a lot, too.
Being played downtown a lot. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
The 90s is resurging downtown.
We'll take the 90s.
Yeah.
We'll take the 90s.
When you made the transition into movies and stuff, what was that like? What was the first step? I'm trying to remember what it was.
Black Cloud.
Okay.
Was the very first movie I did. It was a small independent film, and I wasn't looking to do movies. In fact, I kind of got cornered into the first one I did. I played Arizona, and Rick Schroeder. Rick Schroeder.
Rick Schroeder.
One of the nicest guys in the world. He came to my show and came to my dressing room, and he started talking to me. And he says, I'm doing my very first direction of this movie called Black Cloud. And he said, I'd really like you to play the sheriff in it. And I'm like, I might do a movie down the road, but the worst thing you can do is go suck at something and then ruin your career at anything else. But he was so nice, and I got to be careful how I say this. He was so nice. I didn't really want to do the movie. Wasn't ready for it yet, but he was such a nice guy. I couldn't say no to him. So that was the first movie I did, and it was a small movie nobody had ever seen. And then the second one was Friday Night Lights.
Yeah,
and that was one that I had the script forever sitting on my thing, and I'm like, I'm not ready to do a movie. I'm not ready to do a movie. I don't want to screw my career up. And then I read the script, and like you, I grew up in athletics, and and coaches and bad dads and all that stuff around the field. And when I read the script, it's like, I know that guy. And so I called to find out about the script, and they said they'd already casted it. And I'm not going to say who they cast. It was another musician from a pop world that they'd already casted the thing for. And Pete Berg, who directed it, didn't know who I was from Adam. So I tracked him down, and I said, just give me an audition. He goes, well, I've already cast it. And I said, well, just let me try. So I flew down on my own dime to Texas. They were just about to shoot. They had already hired the guy. And I walked in and did the audition, and I just totally told myself that I'm just going to go full on and just get full on in character. And I walked in and did the audition, and then I got nothing. Like, no response, no good job, no nothing. I'm like, okay, I sucked. And so I left, and then we flew to Paris because Faith and I were doing a video together, the one we did in Paris. I can't remember the name of the song. But anyway, we did a video in Paris. So as soon as we walked into the hotel room in Paris, my phone was ringing. And I answered the phone, and it was Billy Bob Thornton, and who I hadn't met up until that point. And Billy Bob goes, hey, Tim, it's Billy Bob. And I go, hey, Billy Bob, how you doing? He goes, well, I just heard from Pete Berg, and he said that some country singer just came in and blew him away. It looks like you've got the gig. And that's how I got Friday Night Lights.
That's awesome, man.
And it was just such a great experience. And I've been lucky because, A, I've been able to be involved in really good projects. And then B, I've been able to work with really good actors.
Yeah.
So had it gone differently, had I picked bad projects and picked bad actors, then it probably would have went a whole different way, because I wouldn't have learned anything, and I would have gotten worse, and I wouldn't have gotten better, and all those sorts of things.
It just adds such a great dynamic and just expands your range and adds depth to your whole career and your body of work overall.
And I think it helped me out as a singer.
And I think it's also
and a performer,
and the longevity of your artistic career on the music side too. I think that's had a big part to play in it too.
Absolutely, yeah. And for me,
because it's just enhancing your brand value.
It's enhancing my brand value, and it enhances my creativity. Gives me a whole other level of creativity, and also as I get older and down the road, it's something that I feel like I can look forward to as I get into my 60s and my 70s and on down the road, that I've built that part of my career that I can do that.
I wish I would have been able to dabble in some of that a little bit more, because it does give you a balance where, you go out and you do your tour, and then you set that up and you get this out of the way, and then you got these other projects, you're reading through scripts, you're looking for other opportunities, and you have things compartmentalized so you can move back and forth. And creatively, it's got to be extremely stimulating.
It's very stimulating, especially when you get something really good. Yeah. Like 1883, for instance, working with my wife, being able to do something like that. Yeah. And I grew up riding. I'm a horseman. I could ride before I could walk. I rode high school rodeo. I rode bulls and bareback and team roped and calf roped. That was part of my life growing up. So to be able to do a project like that and be involved with cowboys and the whole Yellowstone universe,
that to me shines as probably the pinnacle of the characters that you played.
Yeah, I loved that playing that character.
Because I've enjoyed the whole thing. 1883 was pretty cool, and I've loved 1923 too. The whole body of work, his casting is phenomenal. Yeah. But it was very engaging. A lot of violence in that first one. I mean, that season that you did, there was a lot of violence. It was intense.
The first 2 episodes, I killed like 7 people. Yeah, right off the bat.
Yeah. I remember the one where the guy, you're in the hotel room after your family's just got to you, and your daughter's in there, and the guy comes in on you. Yeah, you blew him up.
Yeah, blew him up. Yeah. But it was fun. I mean, it's fun doing those sorts of things. And it was really fun working with Faith, because I thought she was incredible.
I thought she was incredible too.
She just stole the show. Yeah. And that was, she'd done 1 or 2 things before that. She did Stepford Wives, and then she did a thing called Dixieland, which was really cool. And this was like her 3rd real acting thing. And to be able to do it together and play husband and wife and to be on set every day. Now, there were some tensions every now and then.
Too much time together?
Too much time together. But there was one scene where we were doing this river crossing where she's driving a wagon and I'm in the horse. And, and it was really dangerous. It was like 30 degrees, and it was our 25th wedding anniversary. And we were at 3 a.m, freezing to death. I'm up in the water up to my waist on a horse. She's in a wagon ride and everything. And she's looking at me. She goes, I married you for 25 years of this shit.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I could see where that would be a little strange, especially on some of those remote locations like that. And they made y'all share a trailer too, didn't they?
We had to share a trailer. Yeah. But no, it was great. I mean, look, you know Faith. She's one of the coolest chicks in the world. I mean, she really is. I mean, she's besides being beautiful and talented and a great mom and all that stuff, she's just a really solid Mississippi girl.
Yeah, she come from a good small town.
Yep.
You know,
she did.
Yeah,
I love her. I got lucky.
As you look down the road and you think about what the next steps are in your life, and when you start to slow down, I know you've had some health issues over the last year or so and stuff. Are you starting to dial things back a little bit?
What I dial back is extraneous stuff.
Yeah.
It's, my shows are the most important. And so preparing myself with all the injuries that I've had and getting older, preparing myself to be able to do a show and to do a show in the way that I'm used to doing it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I can go out there and not do it the way that I've always done it. And to me, it's running around, jumping around, and all that kind of stuff. I don't think anybody comes to hear me sing. They come to watch me sing. So it's going to come to a point to where I'm either going to have to decide to change the way I do a live show and continue to do it, or just not do it anymore.
You don't think you'll just kind of be a guy that stands there like Alan?
No, I can't do that.
And it's sad to watch him. You seen some?
Oh, I know, but I love Alan.
I love Alan
and
too.
I could hear him sing. It doesn't matter if he's sitting down; you can hear Alan sing.
It's just sad to watch us as we're all getting older.
I
know,
and
it gets a little bit tougher all the time.
And look, I say that now. I say that I wouldn't want to do it, but look, we love what we do. And as it gets older, look, if people want to still show up and see me sitting down singing, then maybe I will.
What's the longest span of time you've gone without getting on stage and doing a show?
This year.
A year?
It's almost been a year.
Does it make you lose your freaking mind?
It makes me, because I haven't had a job since I was 13 years old and not worked this long since I was 13 years old. And to have almost a year of just like sitting there and I can tell you that after double knee replacements and 3 back surgeries and then now torn rotator cuff and ruptured disc in all the things that have gone on, there were times this year that I thought this might be it. This might be time to hang it up.
Have you dialed back on some of the hardcore extreme workout stuff that you were doing?
As much as I can.
Yeah.
I have to be very careful about what I do. What I do is I still work out, but what I do is everything is intentional. I can't move quickly. Like there's no like turning real quick to do something. Everything has to be very intentional. Everything that I do has to be very methodical. I have to do cold plunges. I have to do infrared saunas. I have to do massages. It's like a professional athlete that I have to sort of treat my body. And that's just because of the way I prepared it through. I've been an athlete my whole life.
Yeah. And
always working out's been a part of my whole program. And if I don't have that mentally, it screws me up.
I can see that. Even going through COVID, that was pretty rough on all of us, because I'd never take any time off like that. That shut me down.
It shut me down too. And I for 10 years I didn't drink, and when COVID hit, it sort of took me down a bad path for a little while. Yeah.
When you take your time off, I know you go to the Caribbean a lot. Y'all still got your place down there?
We sold our place down there.
Yeah.
Thank God, because every time I went down there, I saw dollar signs flying out instead of enjoying
hemorrhaging cash.
Yeah, hemorrhaging cash.
Didn't you say you got bit by a shark?
I got bit. I've been bit by everything down there. I've been spearfishing is my big deal. So I fought off shark left and right constantly. spearfishing. But we'll end up back down there. I mean, it'll be a boat or something. But I'm not gonna buy an island and spend that much money every year on something.
A lot.
Yeah,
I love the Exumas too.
Oh, it's so beautiful down there.
So beautiful down there,
and it's so quiet. There's nobody around,
and there's so many areas like around Farmers Cay and stuff where you have the little range of islands there. They give you the barrier. I mean, there's some beautiful areas down there.
It's awesome.
I absolutely love it.
Me too.
And the lobster. Oh my god.
The lobster, the hogfish, the grouper. I mean, we would spearfish 6 hours a day and bring back tons of fish.
I've seen lobster. I've seen lobster this
that big. Yeah, I'll show you some
massive,
pictures of some big stuff. Yeah.
Wow. I know we'd talked about me going down there with you sometime.
There were a few times we tried to get it together and you couldn't do it. Yeah.
I'm always working. I have to work all the
No,
time.
you were scared of the shark.
I don't like sharks.
They're
man.
scared of the shark.
I don't like sharks at all. Man.
They don't bother you.
Obviously they do.
Well,
they bitch
I mean,
you.
but if you got a fish on your, you've got a fish on your spear.
They will bite your ass.
They will bite.
What's the deepest free dive you've ever done?
My deepest kill is 52 feet.
Damn.
And that was a 35-pound hogfish.
And what's that, about a 3-minute breath holding?
No, it's not as long as you think because you're burning oxygen. So if you're down there close to a minute after burning all the oxygen and fighting and spearing and fighting the current and shooting and getting back up, if you're down there a minute, you're gassed. You're gassed. Now, if you're going down and just sitting, you can hang down for 3 minutes. But to go down and swim and fight and stab and pull up and kick shark away and get back to the top and all that stuff.
That don't bother you.
No. A minute's a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any desire to do that. How about y'all? I don't.
Oh, come on.
I'd like to spearfish, but I'm not holding my breath for 3 minutes. I don't think.
He said just a minute.
Just a minute. That's all you got to do. All you needs a minute.
I can handle that.
But all right, we'll bring all you guys down. Next time I go, I'll bring a guy trip and bring you all down. But look, if I could have the Warren boys and Lance Miller in the water shooting stuff, anybody can.
The Warren boys don't seem like they're into all that.
They are.
Are they?
They are. They've gotten into it big time.
That's awesome, man. I haven't seen those guys in a long time, man.
They're some of my best friends. We've written a lot of songs together.
Man, y'all have had some tremendous success together over the years.
We have.
Pretty amazing.
Good guys.
Lindsey sent some fan questions, and I just read over them quickly. And one of them was there a song that somebody else cut that you'd wished you had, or that slipped through your fingers somehow, and you felt like you could have made a hit out of it as well?
Oh, God, there are a few. I mean, there were songs that I passed on, songs that I thought were hits that I sent on to other people and thought that it'd be better for them. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever passed on anything that I wished I had. The only song is Carrying Your Love With Me, George Strait song, that it just so happened that one of the songwriters pitched it to him and one of the songwriters pitched it to me at the same time. And so I put it on hold and he put it on hold.
Oh, yeah.
And then it got back to me that George had it on hold. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting in a pissing match with George Strait. No. So it's George Strait's song. So that's one of the ones I hate missing out on because that's one of my favorite George Strait songs.
It is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's another question?
So this one here is a prankster. Did you ever pull pranks on each other, or what's some good pranks you've pulled on other people that can be, spoken on YouTube and Spotify?
Ooh, boy, I'm not a big prankster. I always I hate being pranked.
Well, what's a good one that got pulled on you that you couldn't stand?
Oh, I couldn't stand. Well, gosh, let me think. It's hard to. When Kenny was on tour with us, he had his picture on the side of his. When he was opening for me, he had his picture on the side of his truck. And at the end of the tour, my band guys went and drew a mustache and a goatee
on the truck.
On his picture on the truck. But I used to throw lemons all the time because I use lemons all the time on stage for my throat. And so I used to throw lemons all the time at everybody on the stage. And I stopped doing it because I threw it at my guitar tech one time and hit him in the eye. And he got lemon juice all in his eye and he was pissed off at me for about 3 days. He wouldn't talk to me. So I quit doing it. But Jason Aldean was out opening for me. And then the last night of the tour, they all came out with it must have been 300 lemons. and just started pelting me with lemons the whole show. So that was probably one of the coolest ones. Yeah.
I remember Kenny. I did my homecoming show back where I grew up for several years, about 15 years, and Kenny did one of them. And I remember when he came in, I had gone to the agri department, and I had him go out and had him get crates of live chickens. And while he was on stage, I had all
chickens.
The girls. You know how girls would come bring roses up and lay them at your feet and stuff. They were bringing up chickens and setting chickens on the front of the stage, and they were on the drum rides. There was about 25 chickens roosting on the stage during his show. And he's like, "What the hell?" And then he got back to the bus, and I'd got the code to his bus, and we greased up 2 little pigs and turned them loose in his stateroom. That's my kind of fun right there.
And that's all true because I was playing for Kenny at that time.
Oh my God!
Chickens watching us play and go back to the bus.
Chickens were everywhere.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
There were chickens all over this.
They were stunned.
Chicken shit everywhere.
Chicken shit everywhere, man. Man, what do you think's been your highlight over the years in your mind? What's the pinnacle of what you've done and where you've been?
That's tough. I mean, I've been lucky.
Let's say musically.
Musically. My tours with Faith, the Soul to Soul tours with Faith, for a couple of reasons. Because it's rare that people get to do that.
Yeah.
In this business, that a husband and wife get to go on tour at the pinnacle of their careers and get to do stuff together. But more importantly, she makes me a better artist every time I have to sing with her. Because to me, I think Faith, when you listen to her music and you listen to her albums, I think she is probably one of the best singers in the world. She just really has just such a soulful voice, and her musical taste is just so incredible. And I'm not a harmony singer. In fact, it reminds me of the ACMs one year at the after party. Me and you and Kenny were on stage, and we were singing at the after party. And we were singing one of your songs, and I started singing harmony. And you leaned over to me in the middle of between verses and said, "Hey, don't sing harmony." So Faith's the only person I can sing harmony with. So she made me a better artist.
Yeah, I'm an asshole.
He did. He said, "Hey, don't sing harmony."
Oh, man.
I have enough trouble with melody.
Bullshit. Shoot, man.
There's another fan one that says, "Are you glad there was no social media in the 90s?"
Oh, God, yes. Are you kidding me? I wish there was no social media now.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
But
yeah, it's definitely changed a lot of things on the road.
Dude, I can remember, one specific incident that thank God there was no social media.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do.
I remember it very well.
We worked on that one for a while.
God, such good memories. It's hard to believe that it's been, almost
35
years.
35 years.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. Can you believe it?
That much time has passed, man.
I
The
know.
whole world's changed in 35 years. It's not the same place anymore.
No, I mean, we didn't have cell phones.
No,
We didn't have cell phones. I mean, when we were out on the road, if you had a girlfriend or a wife or something, it's a truck stop call.
Yeah.
A period. Yeah.
I remember it was probably 96, and I had a new bus built, and I had the bus wired up. They had modems that you could put in, and I had a cordless house phone that plugged into this modem, and I could talk on my cordless phone just like I was at the house.
Right.
My bill that year was $56,000. I was like, holy shit, my accountant lost his freaking mind.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because you lose track of what it is you're doing.
Yes, you do. Well, in certain instances. But I do remember Tracy having a huge hit and going out on the road and me calling him and go, "Hey, man, can I go out on the road with you this weekend?" He goes, "No, we don't have any room on the bus."
Because we had 15 people on a 12-bunk bus.
No, we don't have any room on the bus this time around.
That was mean to me, wasn't it?
It was very mean, man.
You can go out on the road with me now.
Broke my heart.
You can go out on the road with me now.
All right, I'll go.
What's next for you, brother?
I'm working on a new album now. Just finished rehearsing, getting ready for the Music City Rodeo.
Yeah.
Which is cool because my company brought the rodeo to town, and the PRCA gave us the whole Southeast. So we're setting up rodeos in the whole Southeast.
Is that at the Muni?
It's at the Bridgestone.
Is it really?
And then hopefully it moves into the new stadium.
Nice.
What our goal is to turn it into the next Houston, Calgary Stampede.
Nashville needs something like
well,
that.
Well, it's now the biggest rodeo east of the Mississippi.
Yeah,
and they've never had a southeastern, east of the Mississippi PRCA rodeo presence in a big way. And when we brought the idea to them, they jumped all over it and decided to jump in with our company and gave us the whole Southeast and said, "You guys take it and run with it."
I love the rodeo too, man.
Yeah.
It seems to have had a big resurgence in the last
absolutely.
few years.
It is.
The Cowboys are actually making real money now.
Yes, they're making money. Still not as much as they should, but they're making money. And I think the whole Yellowstone and all that stuff has really brought that culture back. And I think it's been good for country music as well.
Do you think there'll be a chance at a second season of 1883?
I doubt it, because I think they're moving on to 1940 something now.
With Matthew. I think he's in that.
Yeah. And look, 1883 was just such a one-off special because it was the journey to
the origin story.
Yeah, the origin story to get to a destination. And there's only so many river crossings and snake bites and gunfights that you can have.
Dude, I literally went back. I pulled up the Dutton family tree.
Mm-hmm. It's tough to figure out
because I couldn't figure out the origin of you being John's great grandfather. Right. Is that right?
Yes.
And then Harrison Ford's character was not
my brother.
He was your brother. It wasn't John's father.
No, they didn't have any kids.
Yeah, and it was Spencer and whatever her name is. So it's
Spencer,
a lot
Elsa,
to process.
And John Jr. and Spencer, who's our son. Like Faith and I were watching it. We're like, our boy showed up and saved the day. He came back.
Spencer's badass.
Spencer's badass. Yeah. Spencer's a lot like his dad.
Yeah. And you may not know the answer to this, but I'm very curious because I watch a lot of Taylor Sheridan's work. Mm-hmm. You've got stuff like Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, Landman, all that stuff. He has to have a staff of people because he can't be totally hands-on on all of it. Does he have a brain trust of people that are going out and harvesting scripts that he's overseeing? Kind of like what producers in town would be when they're managing 5 studios and they got all this stuff going on one time, where he's just popping in and overseeing
He
things.
certainly has a team.
Yeah.
But he's the writer.
Because he's got a lot of irons in the fire, man. He's got a lot of current seasons that he's doing sequels on right now.
I'm telling you, he is one of the most incredible writers ever. And he'll go 3 or 4 weeks in a row without sleeping and writing.
Really?
Yeah. He'll just stop writing and then he'll write. And then he'll stop writing and then he'll write. And that was one of the things that sold us in 1983 that brought Faith and I on board. First we did the prequel stuff on Yellowstone, and that was just going to be like a one-off.
Just flashback.
Flashback kind of one-off thing. And then it worked so well that they came to us and wanted to do a whole series on it. And we were like, well, it sounds good, but we got to see the writing. And when we got the scripts in, it was so poetic. The writing was just so incredible that it was just hard to say no to. But that's how talented he is. He's doing some great work and great stuff. And Landman, my daughter Audrey's in. She did a couple episodes of last season. She did a couple episodes of new seasons, and now she's recorded her album.
I asked that question because I watched Landman too, and you can tell that he actually is doing the research into the way the culture is in Midland, Odessa.
Absolutely.
He's not just writing a fake narrative around this.
No.
He's diving in. So there's a lot of research. There's a lot of information that he's processing as he's putting a script together. That's why I wondered how many people he had on his staff to help him with that.
He does a ton of research. And even when we were doing 1883, the amount of research and detail that he had about what went on during that time. I remember we were at my nephew's wedding in Florida right before we were supposed to start shooting, about a month out of we were supposed to start shooting 1883, and I got a phone call from Taylor sitting at the reception dinner, and got a phone call from Taylor, and so I answered. I said, "Hey, what's up, Taylor?" He goes, "Hey, do you want to do this or do you want me to do this? But you need to tell Faith that she's got to stop shaving her legs and her underarms." And I went, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, because they didn't shave their underarms during that time. They didn't shave them till the 1920s. So we're at a wedding, I'm sitting there right next to Faith, and I just said, Taylor just called and said you have to stop shaving your underarms, and you should have seen her face.
I noticed the same thing. What's the girl that was Spencer's love interest? The one that
yes.
There was a later scene where I
had
noticed
hair
she had hair on her arms too.
I think they said like the 1920s is when they started doing that.
Let's not go back.
But then I know, and then I asked him. I says, well, I shave my chest because I look like a gorilla. And if I don't shave my chest, it pops out through my T-shirt and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, well, that's your choice. You don't have to worry about it. Faith goes, well, what the fuck?
He wants the authenticity of the whole thing. That's pretty fascinating to me.
Yeah. And it was so good. And and we spent 2 weeks at cowboy camp. Like I said, I grew up riding. So it was for me, it was heaven.
Yeah.
But the hardest part was Faith learning to drive the wagon, because they were all original, authentic wagons. They were dangerous. I mean, you're sitting up high and you're crossing. I mean, we were crossing some serious rivers.
Leaf Springs.
I mean, it was pretty badass. And she got to where she could really back that wagon up into anywhere. She got good at it. Yeah.
Wow. It's fascinating. Let's go back to music for a little bit, man. How different do you perceive the current format nowadays? Because we were talking earlier, back when we started, you were getting 3 to 4 singles a year.
Mm-hmm.
In a 10-year period, you could build a body of work up where you actually had a catalog that you can tour on the rest of your life. Nowadays, songs are lasting 45 to 52 weeks.
It's too long.
It's too long.
It's too long.
And there's, I think there's only 18 songs on the current playlist. Why do you believe that our format has changed so much? Is it a label thing? Because I think it's awfully hard we have so many artists that have no place on the format, so many talented people that will never get the chance to build a body of work. What do you think is the cause of that?
I don't know. I think that well, first off, you can't get to a body of work in an album anymore.
No.
And to me, that means more than anything. It's because this song doesn't fit without this song, and this song doesn't fit without this song, and it's a whole combination of everything that tells a story, and you're never going to get to. I mean, people that listen to radio now or listen to music now, I bet they hear 3 songs off an album. If they hear that much. So it just takes too long, and I think it does a disservice to radio. It does a disservice to country music. It does a disservice to the artist that the songs don't get out there and get played more, because you don't get so much going. And they get so used to hearing the same songs that they don't hear anything fresh anymore. I wish they would just move quicker. That's what I really
almost
wish.
Makes you want to get to a point where you say, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut 4 songs right now.
Why cut an album?
And why cut an album? And I'm going to release one song. I'm not going to put all of it out. I'm going to release a song, and I'm going to service radio or do whatever with it, and then I'm going to put another one out. When I get 4 or 5 of them together, I'll put an album together, and then I'll put a whole package together.
And that's where it's headed. But at the same time, it's hard for me, and I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to go in and just take 2 songs.
It's hard.
And go in and just cut.
Because I
can't develop a theme. I can't develop a sound. I can't develop a texture of what I want the record to sound like without having. I like to go in with 20 songs and cut them all, and then let them sort of find their way.
Yeah.
That way you can build what the album sounds like, what the tenor of the album is, what the theme of the album is, what the story of the album is. If you're going in and cutting 2 songs here, and you're cutting 2 songs there, and then you're doing like a bass track, and then you're sending it out here, and everybody's adding stuff to it. I still like the old school way. I like to bring everybody in the studio. I like to spend 3 weeks in the studio where you're in there for 8 hours a day, every day. You're cutting 20 songs. You're all in it. Everybody's bringing ideas. Everybody's got ideas they want to bring to the table. Everybody's got different sounds. They're bringing music to listen to. Like, hey, listen to this thing on this record. Listen to this thing on this record. Let's try this. Let's try that. That's how music's made. I don't think that's done that much anymore.
I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
And I miss it too.
And we miss something in it. Now, I'm not dogging anybody's music, because there's a lot of great music out there, and people could do it in a lot of different ways. But for me, as a musician, I have to have that emotional connection and that visceral connection with the band, and the combination of everybody's ideas put into one. Because it's like we got the best musicians, the best songs, the best equipment, and then we're playing in our garage like we did in high school.
Or people are going in and they're cutting to a drum loop, and then they're just piecemealing it out to everybody in the home. You're missing the ability to build the dynamics of a song. But when
there's no dynamic.
There's just boom chee boom chee boom chee.
There's no dynamic.
It sucks the life out of it.
It sucks the life out, and it makes it hard for the artist to project.
Yeah,
and to emote.
Yeah, it's very frustrating, but
But they're still good in it.
There's a lot of good in it. And
yeah.
there's
I don't want to sound like I'm dogging him, because there's still a lot of good in it, because people learn and adapt and they do different things. For me, I like it the old school way.
And that's because that's the era we grew up in. That's what we're comfortable with. I'm not comfortable doing social media every day.
No,
It's
me either.
not my world I live in. I didn't grow up with it. I feel like it's too obtrusive into my day-to-day life, and I don't want to do it.
No, I don't want people to know that much about me.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, even when we vacation, we don't post our vacation pictures till we get back, because I don't want people knowing my family's gone.
No, exactly right.
I mean, it's very private about all that.
I'm private about it. I'm private about everything. I mean, and look, you ought to be able to be private about stuff. I mean, you're not owned by people. You give them a product, and you give them your heart and soul, because you can't record a song without giving up a piece of your soul.
No, you really can't.
You can't do a live concert without giving a piece of your soul. So you're tearing a piece of yourself out every time you record music, every time you play a show. You're tearing a piece of yourself out, and you're giving it away to people. So give me something to myself.
And I've learned over the years, if I'm not in the right headspace, I don't make myself available. I detach and I separate myself from it. That's just part of it.
And you have to.
What do you think it means to be a star now compared to when we were at the pinnacles of our career? Because stardom is different now. Social influencing is looked at as stardom. I don't necessarily know that it is, in my opinion. What do you think it means to be a star now?
Well, I think the mystery's gone.
That's true.
Yeah,
I think the mystery's gone. I think that if you know too much about somebody, then there's not this sort of like this existential sort of thing that they have, that we used to have back in the day, because you didn't see us all the time. In this whole internet sensation where you're famous because you've got an internet blog, or you're famous because I miss. Nobody sees the 10,000 hours that goes in to being good at something. All they see is the end result.
yeah.
So I wish somebody would just start building a program to show, yeah, you see this, but this is all that it took to get there. And I'm talking about not only musicians, but athletes, business people, families.
Sweat, blood, and tears.
Years of all the work. Kids see instant gratification now because of the internet, and they think that it happens automatically, and then they give up quickly if they don't learn how to do something fast. It's like nobody learns how to do something fast. It takes time, and it takes effort, and it takes responsibility, and
failure,
and it takes failure,
and adversity, overcoming adversity.
Failure is the most important thing you can have.
I think it's a healthy thing. You got to learn to get up when you fall down.
Yes.
If you don't get back up, you're missing the whole point of it. It's about learning through the journey. Yeah. And I've used this analogy a lot. You remember hearing stories about Rod Stewart. When we were growing up, you heard all these urban legends of things that happened
that weren't true.
Might have been true, might not have. You heard about the Led Zeppelin stories of the elevators and all the crazy stuff that are going on. Now nothing has a chance to evolve into an urban legend.
No,
it's instantly released into the public.
It's either real or it's not.
It doesn't get to go through word of mouth, and it doesn't get to evolve, and it doesn't get to get this mystique to it. We've lost all of that.
Of course, because none of our stories are really true all the way through.
Most of them are, though.
The good parts are true.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you guys, how did Find Out Who Your Friends Are come about?
I just called y'all.
Yeah, you called. Yeah,
I had cut that record, and we had talked for a long time about doing something together. All three of us
always wanted to.
And when I had this song finished, I'm like, man, this would be a perfect thing, because the message was right. Everything just fit the way that it should. And I just called y'all. We didn't go through the label or nothing.
No, I was right off the bat.
Yeah,
jumped on. I was ready to go.
That was a great record.
It was a great record. I loved it. I mean, I love doing it. And have we ever done it live?
I don't think we've ever.
I don't think we've ever done it live together. I'd love to do that.
See, I'm headlining the Ryman soon. You should come sing. You should come sing.
When you doing it?
May the 18th.
I might be around.
I think that would be awesome. We could damn sure do that.
We could do it. If I can remember the damn words.
I don't have teleprompters now.
Look, that's coming. That's coming. Especially when the problem is when because you change your set so much and because you're trying to fit everything in, you can't get everything in. And then for some freaking crazy reason, I always start recording an album right before I go out on tour to start a new show. And so I've got all the new songs in my head and then all the songs I'm trying to learn in my head from the new tour.
Yeah.
So I'm getting where teleprompters, because I have Heath in my ears that are feeding me lines when I need them. So now I'm going to have to start getting some teleprompters, because now it's starting to get to where I'm getting confused with him giving me lines.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I hadn't had to go there yet.
Has he ever fed you the wrong line?
Oh, yeah. No, here's the worst thing is what happens is when you're watching people sing and then they start singing the wrong lines, and then you start singing what they're singing. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. So I don't look at anybody now when they're singing.
Wow, man.
Back to the story. Do you mind talking about the day, like the emotions that went through when you woke up from the hospital?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You were just laying there.
I don't care.
I remember it. I remember it plain as day. It was shocking.
Yeah,
but I will tell you this: when I heard about it, and me and Kenny were all best friends back then. We were hanging out together all the time. But when I heard about it, it didn't surprise me in the least that you did that. I mean, of course Tracy did that. I mean, that was just something he would do.
It was a very fast thing, and the terrifying thing about it is that you don't realize how quick things can get out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 minute everything's fine, the next thing you got a gun stuck to the temple of your freaking head.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see somebody you care about know what they're getting ready to do to them, and you got one shot to either do something about it or just give in. And something. You got to fight.
You got to fight.
You got to fight. Don't have no choice. That was terrifying for me.
I bet it was. It was terrifying for everybody. I mean, certainly for you, but and at the beginning of your career. I mean,
and that was the scary thing for me too, because I really felt like here I have all this stuff lined up. I'm getting ready to go, and I'm going to lose my spot, and somebody else is going to get it, and then I'm done. It's over. I'll never come back from it. I was scared to death, man.
I bet you were. Yeah. I bet you were. But I remember being in the hospital with you and saying, "What the hell did you do, man?"
Wrong place, wrong time. Man. Yeah.
But it worked in your favor.
It did, and it wasn't something that I was on board with about using all that to break my career back then. But it was completely out of my hands.
It was out of your hands.
The label had that bullet in their gun, so to speak, and they used every bit of it. Was that a bad analogy?
No, it's a good analogy, and it's true. But it would have happened without that.
What's the craziest thing you've done? I know you've been skydiving, Rocky Mountain climbing, bull named Fu Manchu. Have you ever skydived?
No, I've never skydived.
You want to?
No.
Why? Because
I'm a pilot, and I'm not jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
What do you fly?
I fly SR-22 Cirrus and the Cirrus Vision jet.
Gotcha. So you got a jet license.
Yeah.
How often you have to update your license? My buddy's got a jet license. He has to go like every year.
Yeah, about every year you have to
go to Knoxville.
Get upgraded and stuff. But I love it. I flew 2 weeks ago. I flew down to Baton Rouge because my nephew was getting his ring ceremony, and he's a Pike as well, which I was. So I went down to the Pike House and had a crawfish bowl and watched him get his ring ceremony. We got to fly my jet down, which is the first time I've flown in a while. So that's awesome. It's cool.
You have another pilot that takes care of it most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, if I haven't flown in a while, I take my ninny with me, my coach with me for sure.
That's cool, man. Yeah. Brother, I've enjoyed this so much, and we need to do it a little bit more.
Let's do it more.
I treasure your friendship, and thank you for always being there for me.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Yeah. I wish you much continued success, and I hope we get to share the stage again very soon.
I do, and let's do another song.
Let's do it, my friend.
All right.
Tim McGraw.